and copy and paste. I'm going to save again. All right, so this one is saying this is how much. Remember, going back over here, they'd like to get to 43,000. They're at 40. So therefore, their decision for next time period, and here's the investment decision right here. This is where they're making the decision. They're short of where they want to be by 3,000. But did they panic? No, they did not. There's a zero there. They didn't panic. So how much do they want to invest next time period? 3,000. They want to try to make up the entire gap. They won't be able to, but they want to try to make up the entire gap next period in order to reach the point that they think is going to be the profitable for investment. So again, going through this is how much they're short of where they want to be. And then this equation says, it has the same thing, right? K star minus K minus that number right there if it was triggered, but it wasn't. This would have been 2,700 if it had triggered, because that would have been a 300 right there, and that's how much they would have lowered their target. Now, where did I get these numbers? I made these up, all right? I just played around with the numbers. This I got from statistical data to try to figure out about how much the stock of capital target would be. I got depreciation numbers from, it's all listed out in the article I wrote where I got all these things. I got profit numbers. I got all these things. These I made up, all right? Because we don't really know. Well, and on top of that, it would vary from time period to time period. From time period to time period, how big a gap between expected and actual would trigger panic is not going to be the same. So, as a consequence, so let's just make something up and see how it works, see if it seems reasonable. And then one of the things you do with this kind of analysis, by the way, is then play with this and see whether you continue to get realistic results with reasonable numbers. And by the way, Koleski was very good about that. After he would build a model, and think about this, this is back in the 30s and 40s, there weren't a lot of data, but he always made a point of going back and checking to see, I wonder how close that would be to what it is in the real world. I always kind of admired that about his work. All right, production function, J6. And I've already told you what all those, I already explained D, E, G, H, I as we went along. So there's the explanation again if you want to read through it, but I've already done that. Now, what we don't have, oh, look, this is what you have so far. And indeed, when we go over to the Excel spreadsheet, that's what you got. All right, so that's good news. Except that it doesn't have a zero there under that one column. And I think that means zero, the negative, the little dash there. But we'll find out. Now, let's see. Oh, yeah, okay, so next. J6. Okay, this one's complicated, but it's not going to be for you. It's going to be quite simple for you. But it took me forever to work this cell out. The last cell is setting limits on how low or high investment can be. Just because firms want to close the gap entirely between the current and target stock of capital does not mean that they can. Since it's gross and not net, it can't be negative, all right? So we can never have negative investment. So we have to make sure that the model doesn't spit out a negative number, because it could if we're not careful. And by the way, the Excel is not the ideal way to model this. You should be using something like Vensim or, oh, what's the other one called? I can't think of it. But I figured this would be more useful to you and more accessible to you if we did it in Excel. So I'm sorry. Since it's gross and not net, it can't be negative. Furthermore, there must be some upper limit to how much can be produced in any given time period, and that relationship would likely be nonlinear, based on a positively sloped S sub k curve from the Davidson capital market. Let me show you what I mean by that. Let's see, is that? Yeah. Let's go way back to the Davidson capital market. Ah, there's one right there. Notice that the cost of construction is going up as firms want to build more and more. So therefore, they don't build as much as they would want to. Imagine if this lowercase s sub k were flat. Then if the cost of construction didn't continually rise, then there would be a very fast increase in how much firms added to the stock of capital. But instead, construction costs go up. So in other words, what it's saying over here is that as firms want to build more, so they are less able to afford that next dollar's worth of production they want to do because the costs are going up. So let's see, this required a log function combined with an if-then statement. And what I came up with at first was a mess, but then I found some fantastic tools in Excel that allowed me, don't worry about this equation, but it allowed, what I did was I asked Excel to generate values over a certain range. I knew what kind of shape I wanted it to be, and it came up with some of the parameters in this equation. So it's got an if-then statement, it's got a log function, and another log function over here. All you got to do is block, copy, and paste it in. All right, so, and essentially, this is preventing that, this is what, here, let's go back over here. And we're almost done. It's just a lot to set it up. But this is what they would like to produce this time period, which is 3,000. But given the productive capacity of the United States of America, can you actually add 3,000 in a single time period, which would probably be closer to 3 trillion in a single time period? Maybe not. So this is telling how much they actually are able to produce in a single time period once you take into account our productive capacity and the fact that we're going to have increasing costs as we produce more and more. So let's block copy this. Control C to copy it. Paste it, and it doesn't always work the first time. Hey! It worked the first time. Let me put a $sign on that sucker. 2148.92. 2148.92! Sounds like I'm calling a play. So, what this says then, let me go back over to the Excel spreadsheet here. And perhaps I should make this, would this increase the size? Nope, it went to a different sheet, sorry. Oh, it would be view, wouldn't it? Sorry, as I say, I don't actually use, I don't want that, let's say 150. Okay, there, that might be a little easier for you to read. All right, oh, let me expand that cell right there so you can see it properly. There we go. Okay, in this time period 1, in the macroeconomy, firms invested 1,200 billion, 1.2 trillion. And the existing stock of capital when this period started was 40,000. So that means that they are 3,000 short of where they'd like to be. All right. Now, actual profits this time period were 1,200. And you know why? Because investment was 1,200. This cell right here simply says, let's see, B6, all right, because of that Koleskian conclusion. This, in subsequent cells, will be what profits actually were last time. I decided to just start them off with equal, all right, so that they were exactly right. Now, how much short of actual profits, how much higher were actual profits than expected? Well, they weren't at all. They were exactly 0. So, and why it's giving me a little dash, I don't know. And I should put a $sign on this over here. That should also be, because we're still doing it in dollar values. Now, I better move over here so I can see where the home. There it is. Aha! That is 0. That just means 0. All right. So they didn't panic because this would have had to have been -100 or worse for panic to trigger. And if panic had triggered, this number would have been 300, or it would have been 300, and then we would have subtracted it over here, and that would have been 2,700. But they weren't. Nobody panicked. Firms would like to add 3,000, but given the limits of the construction companies in this economy, they'll only be able to add 2148.92. So they can't close the entire gap all at once. All right. That is the biggest part of the setting up the spreadsheet. Now what we have to do, and here I'm just explaining what I just told you. Now what we have to do is insert some values for those initial values that we put in the first time. For example, I'm just going to go ahead and block copy this while we're here. Copy. I've already done it, sorry. But I already have the time already all down here. But when I first did it, all I had there was a 1. And then this is going to be cell A6 plus 1, cell A7 plus 1, cell A8 plus 1, and on down like that. But apparently I already put that together for you, so you don't have to do that. Now remember, I simply assumed 1,200 over here for investment. Well, that's not going to be the case now. How much are they going to invest next time period? They're going to invest that much. Here was their investment decision. They're going to invest that much next time period. So what do I put in this cell right here? I simply put J6. And let's look back at the instructions. J6. So I'm going to put J6 right here, equals J6. And I'm going to put another dollar value thing on there. All right, so there you go. They made the decision back in time period 1 to invest 2148.92, and now it's time period 2. So now they are going to invest 2148.92. What is the existing stock of capital in time period 2? Well, it's going to be whatever it was last period minus depreciation plus new investment. Plus new investment. Or actually, I'm going to do the 2148. Let me see here. Yeah, copy. All right. At the end of this time period, the stock of capital will be 4948.92. It will be 40 minus 1200, because that's how much it wears out every time period, plus 2148.92. So that ends up being 4948.92. So that's how much the total stock of capital will have increased once you take into account depreciation from period 1 to period 2. Now we already, let's see, we don't need to replace the next equation. We need an equation for, oh yeah, for F7. Okay, check it out. This is what you expect profits to be this time period. And remember, you expect them this time period to be what they were last time period, barring any reason to believe otherwise. And certainly in the real world, there could be reasons to believe otherwise. But we're abstracting away from all that. Equals E6. Let me see if I'm right. Let me go back and look at my equals E6. And I will put a dollar sign on there. And now we're almost ready to run the whole thing. Done. Now you have to block copy row 7. Okay, now what I didn't do was I didn't go through. We're going to have to block copy these. Copy. Paste. Because those were already cell equations, right? Those weren't initial values. Copy. Paste. So notice for the first time in time period 2, actual and expected profits weren't the same, but actual profits were much better than expected profits. So cool, still no panic, all right? Still no panic over here. And they're trying to get closer to their target value. Now what you do is, this is the neat part, we're just going to copy this entire row, block it, Control C, or you can right click and do a copy thingy, but Control C, and go down to 50 time periods, and Control V. Paste it all in. And you might not be able to see it right now, but you just created the business cycle. Here's how I'm going to show you how to do the business cycle, how to see it. Let's see. Done. Now all you have to do is block copy row 7 and paste it for as many time periods as you like. 50 is what we're going to do here in class. Take it down to row 55. Now you'll have a complete simulation. The next step is to get a plot. This is very easy. Okay, check this out. And I'm going to shrink this again back to 100 so you can see more of what's going on. But we're almost done. All right. The instruction now says to select cells A6 to B55. Oh, yeah. I remember this now. A6 to B55. All right. What do I do now, John? Leaving them selected, click on the Insert tab and choose Scatter, and then scatter with straight lines. Okay. Leaving them selected, click Insert. What did I say? Oh, I have to find scatter. It's under charts. Which one is it? There's scatter. Yeah, that won't work. But I better figure out which one it is. Scatter with bubble chart. Oh, I think I down click on this. I left an instruction out. Scatter and scatter with straight lines. Oh, click on the insert. Oh, no, I did that already, John. So it's under charts. Scatter and scatter with straight lines. That looks like scatter with straight lines to me. Either one of those will work fine. So let me show you what I did. I clicked on this little graphy thingy down here. It says, oh no, I'm sorry, I clicked on this one. Insert line or chart area. And then I went to a two-dimensional line, or, no, I didn't, did I? I did this one. Yes, this is it, this is it, this is it. These are all the scatter choices. And what I want is scatter with straight lines. There it is. Click. Voila, a business cycle. Because what that is showing is the fluctuation in investment from one time period to the next. Actually, there's two time periods going up and two going down and so forth. And you can obviously mess around with it to come up with different patterns and so forth. But what it's saying is, if those equations that we went over initially are a reasonable representation of the way in the investment process works, then no wonder we see fluctuations. All right, no wonder we see fluctuations. That we end up with time periods where let me slide up to the top here. Actually, I'm going to slide that chart up too, that'd be handy. I'll drop it right there. Okay. Check it out. You end up with time periods when the investors were disappointed. Look, in time period 3, they expected investment to be, they expected profits, and of course the investment's the reason that they fall short, but they expected profits to be 21.4892. What were they actually? 20.46. I set the gap as sufficient to cause panic at 100. You don't have to put it at 100. You can put whatever you want. But and so this caused panic, and it caused them to reevaluate where they wanted to get. They no longer wanted to get to 43,000. They now wanted to get to 42,700. Now, is that exactly right? No, of course not. All right, but we're trying to build a model here to see if we can get the basic patterns here. And notice there's 2 periods of not disappointed, 2 periods of panic, 2 periods of not disappointed, 2 periods of disappointed, all the way through the model. And there it is. By using those Cholesky and Keynes assumptions, you can build a business cycle model, and there it is showing you what you got. And now all you do is save it and send it to me, and you just got 5 points. And that's it. We'll do a little bit more with it later, but that's it for now. Thank you very much.